All right, everyone. Up until the last 48 hours of news about Facebook, there were still a lot of pessimistic people, some of them optimistic authoritarians, saying, well, Facebook won't actually be doomed. People will quickly forget about the fact that Facebook has been abusive. The lamestream media, which is, pro-corporate, pro-surveillance, pro-spying, anti-free speech as it is now nailing Facebook to the wall as cheap clickbait because there's no other alternative. They can't protect Zuckerberg anymore, and here's why. We got several news stories. First, we learned that Zuckerberg is going to have to testify before Congress. I imagine if he could sweat, he would be, but he's a synth, and synths don't have sweat glands. They haven't achieved that technology with the experimental synth models like Zuckerberg that are halfway between a 2 and a 3. You have to get further along before you can actually mimic, human biological function is refined as sweating. So Zuckerberg, he has a pulse, even if his hemoglobin is actually like motor oil or something, but he's not quite there. So he's got to talk to Congress and explain, oh yeah, what were you doing with this user data? What exactly did you put into place to protect user data? But the thing is, he's not going to be able to say much in the way of, hey, we tried to protect it, it's just a big mistake, because it's quite clear that that's not the case. It turns out that basically all data was scraped by third parties. So number one, you sent a photo, okay? It's on other servers there, trust me. That's not just on Facebook. Any conversation you had on your wall, like anything you did publicly on Facebook, is in all sorts of other servers. And at least Facebook has message backups of everything you've done for the last 10 years. This must really suck for a lot of people that cheated on their spouses, or it could be a big problem for a lot of I think heavy hitters, the gin swillers of the future. If you know what I'm saying. Oh, I think I'll get into politics. No, you won't. Look at this piece of paper here. It's the Facebook convo you had 7 years ago. Good fucking luck with your run, asshole. So that could be pretty funny. I'm sure this won't be misused by political groups. I'm sure that they won't hire hackers to try to obtain these reams and reams of personal info on people. Basically an entire 2 generations of individuals who now thankfully have stopped using Facebook large. I mean, literally the only thing at this point I do on Facebook, other than occasionally troll when I'm really, really bored and Twitter's just not doing it, is manage my Facebook group. That means that I post like 2 or 3 things there in a day. Basically video links. I put videos here. Facebook is totally peripheral. It's not even necessary. I get as many people following me on Minds.com as Facebook. By the way, Minds now tied to crypto. New design, way, way better than before. I put the referral link up on Twitter, so you can take that one too. I think I get points for that, but I'm not exactly sure because I've never actually used it. I didn't even know it existed before, so a little bit of a problem. Way better. Gab is better. Basically anything's better than Facebook. You think that Twitter is abusive of its user base. No, it's Zuckerberg. It's Facebook. That's the real big one. And then we find, and this was the story of the day today, this is the funniest part, Facebook even attempted to approach, in secret, hush hush, it didn't tell anybody it was doing this, it attempted to get people's patient records at hospitals to corroborate that with user data. It tried to get your medical records. Now, a lot of the jackboot licking idiots now I've been saying, well, they're a private company, you sign off on the terms of service when you use it. Okay, where in the Facebook terms of service does it give Zuckerberg the right to go to users' hospitals and attempt to get their confidential patient records? Doesn't exist there, it's not in the TOS. Whoops! See, this is why Facebook is doomed. Zuckerberg has made several major fumbles in handling these situations. It goes way beyond Cambridge Analytica, though. It goes in, they appear to have broken the law with this latest step regarding the medical infrastructure. What on earth gives a private company the right to dig for that kind of confidential information among its user base? What, did the government pass a law I'm not aware of where social media firms need to know whether you've got high fucking blood pressure to serve you better ads? This appears to have been a money attempt to target ads at people based on their medical history or something. Whoops. Yeah, can you say really big mistake? There's a reason they didn't announce that publicly that they were doing this. There's a reason why this was apparently a hush-hush secret operation from Zuckerberg. There's a reason for that, and it wasn't because, oh yeah, we were trying to surprise people. We were going to start collating their medical data in an easier to access forum. Yay, we've revolutionized medical data storage. It'll be safer with Facebook than in a hospital somewhere. Now, I don't think that that's the reason why. I think that Zuckerberg is going to have a lot of explaining to do, and I don't think he's going to do a very good job. Because to Zuckerberg, who now pretends, I think, to be Buddhist. Basically his wife, he imported his wife and adopted her, like, pseudo-religious beliefs, like, the New Age bullshit. A lot of people, they get into, like, tech, they get rich or something, and then they want to go and find religion or pretend. In Zuckerberg's case, I have no reason to believe that he authentically does believe in meditation or anything. I think he fakes it in order to do a feel-good thing to people on the left. But I've got a million lefties saying, well, Facebook's a private company. If you don't like it, just leave the platform. No, now it's you who wants to leave the platform because you're uncomfortable with Zuckerberg trying to gather your medical data, which is probably illegal, certainly not within Facebook's TOS. Certainly is slimy. I think nobody would possibly believe it isn't. Don't those count kind of as government records because of Obamacare anyway? Well, then I guess it involves the government. I guess this isn't just a private thing anymore now, is it? Your medical records. It seems like people's medical records, really, it's become a sticking point in the right to privacy within the U.S. at this point anyway. It's like companies keep wanting access to them. The government wants access to everything medical to determine, I guess, whether you can have a gun or not, which is unconstitutional. Facebook wants your medical data. The government wants to know, like, I guess everything about you based on medical procedures. It's just a move towards a Blade Runner-esque future where people, I guess, are served weird ads based on their most private conversations. So let me get this straight. Facebook fudges its actual user data, tells people that more U.S. users exist than there are people in the U.S. But nobody finds that funny or suspicious at all. It claims that it has a systemic problem with botting. It gets heavily censored and starts kicking people off, like kicking mundane political groups off of the site. And it's doing so, by the way, and this was pointed out yesterday by a host of people, it's kicking off specifically conservative groups. Insofar as it's doing so, it may be violating, actually, one of our communications acts, which deals with neutrality. I think it's funny. The same people that want net neutrality, they're like, oh, ISPs shouldn't be able to throttle bandwidth to a site, based on some political or religious or whatever beliefs or based on who pays. But you don't have a problem with Facebook throttling the information that you can gather. So what's the difference? It's still the throttling of human communication and information. It's still a lopsided system. I think if you want net neutrality, you've got to extend that to these monopolistic communication sites. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, a few others. They've got to be throttled insofar as they would do anything to their private user bases. And I want to head on after a company, who cares? But insofar as they're dealing with human communication, yeah, there should be neutrality imposed. Anything that's not illegal under U.S. law should be perfectly permitted. By the way, it's certainly a better way to run your site from a fiscal perspective. The U.S. government can save these sites from getting screwed over by Europe, and really, we can put the screws to European tech firms easily by making it impossible for U.S. tech firms to be sort of boxed in by Euro-style censorship. Because trust me, if you do that, Russia or China or some other group will start opening up sites that are allowing people to do stuff they can't do on big U.S. firms anymore. And alt tech will rise up anyway, regardless of what happens. But Facebook trying to access medical data, my goodness, oh yeah, we've got to know you had a heart attack and your dad died of a stroke. We need to know that in order to serve you effective ads. Okay, yeah, see how that flies when you're talking to Congress, Zuck. It's really going to work wonders. Yeah, see how many private users continue to bother to use Facebook. It's going to have a chilling effect. People aren't going to want to use Facebook Messenger to talk about anything that's, confidential. Now, I would say, of course, any other messaging system you're using that isn't strictly a libertarian alt-tech site, probably, they're scraping everything to give to ad firms, too. But there is a move away from that generally because it seems that even if it's targeted, it doesn't make anyone a lot of money. It seems like increasingly we're going to have an internet that's crypto and blockchain and crowdfund and grassroots. By the way, which I prefer, a decentralized internet. It's less or uncensored. Nobody can screw you over because of your beliefs. It would be wonderful if we had specifically a free speech domain registrar. Like, imagine a domain registrar that pledges towards total laissez-faire libertarianism. We're not going to deal with Europe. Fuck Europe. We're not going to deal with anything other than U.S. law, number one. And number two, it has to be against the actual law. We're not dealing with offensive, with unconscionable, with might be a crime waiting to happen because someone says something off the wall, but they haven't done anything criminal. No, if they break the law, then we kick them off. Otherwise, they're welcome. That's what we need. We need our own domain registrar for all of these alt tech sites. That needs to happen, absolutely. If you want to escape censorship, it has to go a level deeper than just having a company. Because we've seen like Gab gets kicked off its registrar for not censoring people enough. Like that makes a whole fucking lot of sense. No, absolutely not. That's what we need to do. Somebody needs to get a domain registry going and start hosting these sites. And we need like a Cloudflare style site as well for defense. You can have a free and open internet, but we're going to have to fight back against censorship by any means available. And it's not just, hey, I built a site where people can communicate. That's great. But if they say the wrong thing, the Europeans are going to come in and say, well, you're not allowed to do that. We're going to talk to your registrar. We're going to talk to the ISP. Or something. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. So Facebook's basically doomed. If I had Facebook stock, not giving you advice, but if I had stock in Facebook, I would have dumped it yesterday. I would have dumped it weeks ago. Actually, probably never would have bought it in the first place because it's worthless, but yeah, it's probably time to get out. You know, Zuckerberg's planning to dump his. Why would anyone want to hold on to theirs? Like, they think Facebook's going to rebound after all this? Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's the comeback kid story. I'm sure Facebook will be fine. No, it'll probably schism as a company. Zuckerberg will dump his stock. It'll collapse. They'll partition. They'll end up like Yahoo. Who buys Yahoo stock? Oh, yeah, I think they're going to have a real good third quarter this year. No, it's not going to happen, dude. It's not going to recover. Like YouTube has managed to maintain despite prevalent censorship, because at least it's capable of explaining things to the lamestream media. Zuckerberg can't even do that. He's a talentless hack who built a site that basically has devolved into nothing more than, hey, we want to spy on people and sell their personal data. By the way, we're probably going to violate U.S. law in some of our practices. So screw Facebook. Like I am very, very tempted to close my page. It's just a matter of like 3 or 4 people I talk to on Facebook that are too stubborn to get another site, plus a group that I have on there that doesn't even have as many users now as mine. And Gab is quickly encroaching on that number too. Despite the fact that my Facebook group was open before anything other than my YouTube channel, and now it's very close to the bottom of the pack. So Facebook doesn't really offer anything to people, and it's not fun. It's like you can do, if you want to shitpost, you probably use Twitter or maybe YouTube for that if you want to shitpost. If you're a content creator, what are you creating on Facebook? It's more censored than any other video platform. Like Dailymotion now has a better reputation now at this point. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's about all. Peace out.